Hi, everyone. Dr. Victoria Scarbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. And as I promised we are going to look at the new moon in Aries that occurs today. It actually occurred at 5:28 a.m. on the east coast of the U.S. And so this new moon is already happening and occurring as we sit here. It is almost 3 o'clock here on the east coast of the U.S. So let's take a look at the chart here, and you should be able to see it right here. Now, what I did with this chart is I did erect it to Washington, D.C. As you can see here, it says Washington, D.C. as the place, but I did put it on a flat starting with Aries wheel. This is a natural wheel. So the planets in Aries are going to sit in Aries house. The planets in Pisces are going to sit in Pisces house. And then once we just go over the general energetics of this, we'll take a look at it and how it is manifesting itself in the United States of America, where I live. And you could do that with any country. So, all right. So here we have the new moon in Aries. And the new moon is, of course, when the sun and the moon are at the exact same degree of a sign. And we have it at 4 degrees, 12 minutes, or we round it off to 5 degrees of Aries. Now, we also have the sun and moon in a very close and tight conjunction with Chiron. Chiron is at 5 degrees, 14 minutes of Aries, or 6 degrees of Aries. And so we have the sun and the moon conjunct Chiron in Aries. The conjunction of the sun and the moon to Chiron is a balsamic conjunction, meaning that the sun and the moon are moving towards Chiron, and will be making a conjunction to Chiron tomorrow. The moon will make it today. It actually might already be making it. I'm not sure because I don't know where the moon is right now. So the moon moves pretty fast. It's going to make a conjunction to Chiron, and then the sun is going to make a conjunction to Chiron. And then as it moves away, it'll be in a new phase conjunction. But right now, it's in a balsamic phase conjunction. And balsamic conjunctions are about wrapping things up. It's about extracting meaning from experience. And so to a certain extent, we're being required to extract some meaning from this new moon in Aries in relationship to Chiron, the wound, okay? The wound of Chiron in Aries is a wound of identity. It's a wound of unchecked force, yang, masculine force. It is a wound of, it's often seen in expressed in the wounded soldier, whether it's a physical, mental, or emotional wound. It is the symbol of the spiritual warrior. The last time that Chiron was in Aries was in the 70s, and so people in the 70s are now having their Chiron return at late 69, late 68, 69, I think, 70, 71, etc. I don't exactly know how long Chiron was in Aries. Chiron is in Aries the longest, I believe, and I think it's about 8 years. So probably from about 68 to 76. And that's just a general. You can check your own chart to see where your Chiron is. But we're definitely dealing with woundedness here. We're definitely dealing with woundedness. And Aries is a energy of being and becoming. It is an energy of individuality. It's when we move out of the cosmic soup of Pisces and rise up to become, the urge to become, the urge to be born. And so there's this energy of emergence with Chiron in Aries, and wounds around that. It's very possible that you've never felt like you were supported in your greatness with a wound in Aries, because Aries, like most fire signs, have this sense of special destiny, and they feel like there's something special about their life, but they look around and they often see that it's not reflected back at them, and that is wounding to them. So they almost feel like, well, what's the point of me being here? So there's that, there can be that kind of energy with this as well. And so we have this conjunction of the sun, the moon, and Chiron. And because it's balsamic, it's an opportunity for us to heal this, okay, to heal it. Pisces is about healing through letting go and letting God. Now, we also have this whole configuration, this whole new moon, actually square the nodes of the moon. The nodes of the moon right now are at, the north node is at 3 degrees 40 minutes of Cancer. The south node, 3 degrees 40 minutes of Capricorn. The nodes have a mean retrograde motion, mean meeting median, right? So they mostly are moving backwards. So the nodes will be going closer to 2, and then 1, and then 0, and then the nodes are going to shift in, I believe it's May, into the north node moving into Gemini, and the south node moving into Sagittarius. But as this new moon stands, we have the new moon and Chiron square the nodes. Now, when you have planets square the nodes, it's important to look to find the resolution node, because what we can do is we can find ourselves moving back and forth and never completely moving through the nodes. The north node is the direction forward. The south node is what we're being asked to release. The resolution node for this whole configuration is the south node. So before we can move into that north node, we must release something from the south node. And what could we be releasing? Well, the south node is in Capricorn. One of the things we could be releasing are the old structures, the old societal structures, before we can truly sort of move into this energy of self-nurturance and caring for one another, and nurturing the planet, and nurturing each other, and nurturing the family, or the family of man in this case. So we must look to the past and see how the way that we have structured society is actually very wounding to the individual. Aries, Chiron in Aries, okay? The United States of America has a natal Chiron in Aries. It's at 20 degrees. So we will be having our Chiron return yet again in America. That happens every about 50, 52, 53 years. That happens. And it's going to be happening right around the time we have our Pluto return. Actually, I think a little bit later than our Pluto return. So we have a lot of big transformational processes happening in America over the next couple of years that will make the changes that we're going through now seem like a blip, because there are big changes coming. And I think there's going to be less a sense of powerlessness. However, I think we will be able to access a sense of personal agency when Pluto comes along. Not that we can necessarily fight Pluto, but at least we'll know what we're fighting for, and we'll know what we stand for. Okay, so we have this configuration, and so we must go to the past and see what conditionings that we need to let go of. Conditionings from the past: self-judgment, self-incrimination, self-criticism. At the same time, utilize the talents from the past: responsibility, our ability to respond, understanding that we do have to work together as communities and as governments and as countries. We need to move together for the benefit of the people. Okay, the people down here, Cancer. This is also issues around those people who can't take care of themselves, the young and the elderly, right? The sick, the infirmed, the people who don't have the capacity, or weren't born with the capacity to take care of each other. or to take care of themselves. It's really is how you take care of the least of us. This is also a theme that we have here. Now, one of the things that I like to do when I look at a new moon chart is like to look at the planet that is associated with the sign that the new moon is in. So the new moon is in Aries. The ruling planet of Aries is Mars. And here we have Mars right here, fresh off its conjunction, its biennial conjunction to Pluto that occurred. I'm doing this video on the 23rd. It actually happened today. This new moon is tomorrow for here in where I live on the East Coast of the United States. So we have Pluto in a new phase conjunction to Mars. And that means that Pluto has or is in the process of seeding Mars with an unconscious desire. Pluto is our unconscious desires. Pluto is the evolutionary process. It's the evolution of the species. It's the whatever sign Pluto is in the moment is sort of the evolutionary edge. What's interesting about Pluto in Capricorn is that Pluto is a energy of death and rebirth, and so it is there to a certain extent cause destruction of the system, but those part of the system that no longer work, that sort of prevent us from evolving. Now, part of that evolutionary process, we evolve through the polarity point of Pluto. And so while Pluto is in Capricorn, the actual polarity point of Pluto is down here in Cancer. And so while Pluto moves through Capricorn, what we're learning is we're learning about how we feel. Okay, this is we're all coming home. We're evolving through the Cancer polarity, the polarity of care and concern and connection to family, connection to food, a connection to safety. We want to be fed, we want to be clothed, we want to be safe, we want our families to have opportunities, but we also have to keep in mind our relationship to the Great Mother, right? The Great Mother Earth. And so this is an evolutionary journey towards the feminine, really, towards a valuation or a valuing of the feminine, right? And so as Pluto sort of comes in and sort of takes out a lot of the structures of the patriarchy, father knows best, and we can depend on some like power outside of us to save us. We're all learning that in order that we are responsible for ourselves and everybody around us. So this is sort of an energy of realizing that we are our brothers and sisters keepers, as we are our own keeper. Okay, not to say that structure and systems of government and governance aren't necessary, because they are, but we on certain level have to become emotionally self-reliant, and that's really what Pluto in Capricorn is teaching us to do. It's teaching us to be emotionally self-reliant, and do what we need to do to nurture ourselves, so that we can come from a place of strength instead of a place of weakness, or a place where we're trying to wait for somebody else to give us what we have the capacity to do for ourselves. So there's that energy with this. So we have this sort of new phase conjunction of Mars. Now, Mars likes being in Capricorn. It utilizes the structure of Capricorn very well. And so the energy of Mars is always better when there's a structure to work through that energy. In other words, when it's in a sign like Cancer, where there's no such thing as sort of moving forward, it's always sideways and backwards. Mars is very uncomfortable in that sign. When it's in a sign where there is structure there to support Mars, to support that energy and sort of move it out in a direction supported by structure, Mars does very good. So this is actually a very powerful position for Mars. And this is a natural chart, so everything is in its natural place, Mars being up in the 10th house. So there is a certain amount of energy where the government or those people in power need to take actions, but those actions need to be for the benefit and the healing of the people and not just for the benefit of themselves, which of course there will be plenty of people doing that as well. We just have to be aware that that's not necessarily the best sort of way to go about it, and it's not going to be the way where we're going to evolve. That's more of a devolution process. So what I want to do is I want to look at the chart for the United States of America. So now this is the same chart, only it is it's for the United States of America, and these are the houses. Now, we see a lot of energy here with this. Okay, not a whole lot of energy on the side of the chart. Most of the energy is on the left side of the chart. This is really, if you take the chart and cut it in half this way, this being the left side of the chart, this being the right side of the chart, when you have a lot of stuff on this side, this is about self-reliance. This is about making your own way in the world, which kind of goes along with that Aries energy anyway. The new moon for the United States and Chiron conjunction here is in the second house of resources. What are the resources and who has the resources? And is that wounding? We have Mars right here in the 11th house, again, conjunct Pluto. The 11th house is group consciousness, right? It's about groups. It's about working towards the common good. And the 11th house is also the Congress, right? The House of Representatives and the Senate, to the sort of the judicial, not the judicial, is it the judicial branch? You have judicial, you have the executive, and the other branch, which is the word I can't think of, so I apologize for that. But that is 11th house. That is 11th house. And we also see we have like a sentinel right here. Pallas Athena in that house. Pallas Athena is the goddess of justice, the goddess of strategy, the goddess of wisdom, goddess of the structure of the government. And she is the goddess of social justice. So she's sort of standing tall, so to speak, watching all the shenanigans going on. We also have Jupiter there. Okay, Jupiter is about truth. So there are things happening, and perhaps there are some certain things happening behind the scenes, but ultimately I feel like the truth will come out. Now there is this energy of a whole new paradigm, and I want to read something to you. This is the Sabian symbol for this degree, for 5 degrees. And I implore you, if you have an opportunity, go watch my video on the reading that I did. It's a tarot reading on the new moon in Aries, because a lot of what came up in the reading is symbolized in this symbol here. For 5 degrees of Aries, these are the Sabian symbols. And the Sabian symbols were a group of 360 symbols that were sort of developed when a prominent psychic and a prominent astrologer got together. The astrologer put each degree of the zodiac on a piece of paper, and the psychic just opened her consciousness up and had a vision of something, and he wrote all these down. And there have been books on those Sabian symbols. I think it was Mark Edmund Jones that did that, and Elise Wheeler, I think, was the psychic. Apologize if that's not right. And Dane Rudger later wrote a book, and this is mostly his work that I'm going to read to you. Not the symbol per se, but the delineation of the symbol. So we have 5 degrees of Aries, a triangle with wings. And the keynote is the capacity for self-transcending. This is a symbol of the desire to reach a higher level of existence, of pure aspiration or devotion or bhakti. what has emerged in the first place of the process of differentiation, becoming aware of the possibility of further upreachings. The principle of levitation is seen as one of the two essential factors in evolution. The emergence being glorifies, the emergent being glorifies and defines it, but it is still only an ideal. At this stage, nevertheless, the whole being experiences childlike longing for its eventual realization. It says at this point, the last and the synthesizing stage of the first five-fold unit of the cyclic process is reached. A new dimension is being envisioned, mobilizing creative endeavors. And that's exactly right what this new moon in Aries is about. It's about a new dimension, a higher evolutionary level. We are up leveling here. And we can no longer do things the way they were done in the past. We need to move into a new paradigm. And this is the time of that new paradigm. And as we sit here, in many places in the world, we have to sit with ourselves because of this pandemic that is sweeping the world. So that reminds us that we're all connected. And that if we really want to thrive, we have to learn how to live with each other in a more holistic way and live with the planet in a more holistic way. So that's part of the lesson here as well. Okay, so let me get back to my chart here. All right, so and just a few more mentions about the chart here in America. The ascendant of this chart is Aquarius. The United States, in both the Sibley and the Gemini rising chart, astrologers know what I'm talking about, have the moon in Aquarius. And so with this chart being having an Aquarius ascendant, the ruling planet of this chart is Uranus. And we have Uranus here at 445, 5 degrees of Taurus in the third house. Uranus is the great awakener. The third house is the lower mind. So we have the great awakener in the place of the lower mind. So people are waking up to something. The Uranus, I'm thinking too fast, is in a supportive trine to the south node of the moon. The south node is the release point. Trines create flow. And so this is an opportunity to let go. It's like boom, boom, boom. And it's making a sextile to the north node in Cancer, which allows us to be more progressive in the way we are sort of facing the future, caring about others, caring about the common good. We're all on the same planet, and we're going to have to learn how to work within that and within that planet in a much better way if we expect to survive. Cancer is a sign of survival. It's the sign where we learn that we need to have people around us. We have a better chance of surviving if we have community around us. And so this is a lesson that we're learning at this time. We also have Uranus here square Saturn, okay? And it is square Saturn it's a last quarter square, but it's not quite all the way there. We're not going to have that for a little while yet. Saturn has to be exactly 270 degrees away from Uranus, and it's falling short, but it's getting closer. It's getting closer to that last quarter square. And so we're feeling this energy of having to break free and having to break away from the old structures and the old way that things were set up. but we're not all quite there, and the change is not coming. That change we will probably see much more evidently in 2021, which incidentally, 2021 is a 5 vibration, and 5 is all about change. So we're really going to see the change in 2021. Right now, we're just waking up to the possibilities and the knowing and the need that we need to actually do that. Of course, people like myself have been saying this for years, but not everybody is me, and not everybody's listening to me. Or even if you are listening to me, this is something you have to come to yourself. All right, let's see what else we have here. If there's anything else that I want to mention about this chart. I'm sure there's much more I could say about this chart, but I think this is enough information. So hopefully you were able to get a little something out of this. If you have any questions, you have to look at your own chart, see where you have 5 degrees of Aries. You can see where that start a new beginning for you. And let me show you something on how to do this. As you can see here, well, maybe you can't see. In this chart, we have Aries here in the second house. And generally how you find where Aries is you look at all the cusps, okay? Now you can see here that there are no cusps with Aries on them. Cusp is where the two houses come together. We have Aquarius, we have Pisces, we have Taurus, we have Gemini. The reason for that is because in this chart, Aries is intercepted. So all of Aries is in the second house, okay? But if we click back to, oops, sorry, Johnny. Okay, if we click back to this chart, assuming that this was not a natural chart, just say it happened to be somebody's chart, we can see we have Aries on this cusp, and it's at 0, 0. So the numbers go in this direction. So we have 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There it is, see? So you have to see what's on the cusps. So when you look at your chart, say this was, just as an example, it's 0 degrees, right? We know that the sun and the moon are going to fall in your first house. Say this was 10 degrees, okay? Say this was a 1 instead of a 0, then the new moon would fall in this house. Because this is 10, the new moon is at 5, it would be somewhere over here. So that's just a little sort of, just to show you. In case you're looking at your chart. Of course, if you have any questions, you can always email me or ask below. If I can help you out, I will. But this is actually a great time to get a reading. The new moon in Aries is the start of a whole new zodiacal cycle. And we're in a very potent and powerful time. And there are some people who could use a little light on the path. There are other people who have actually pre-life decided to come in at this time for this very reason. And so we have to wake up to our own capacity, our own agency, our own abilities, our own healing capacity, because we're all in this together and we all need each other. And some folks are going to be further along than others. And this is a big change. So for those of us who've always sort of felt like an outsider, this is like, oh, wow, look at the changes that are going on. But if you're not an outsider and you're in the middle of this, this can be terrifying. And they need our help. So shine your light, folks. Love one another. Stay safe. And have a great day. I'll see you soon. Talk to you soon. Take care. Like and subscribe. If you'd like a reading, there's a link down below. If you like to donate, there's a link down below. If you like to look at my website, which isn't the greatest website, but it's got some pretty pictures on it, the link is down below. Take care. Bye.